Hi everybody, welcome to the last November Art Journal Watch Along. Today I am working with a newspaper sheet as my background and some very simple colors on top. So I'm starting off with artist gel and I'm just distributing a thin layer all over the page to glue down the newspaper page. I still want the newspaper to be porous and not having anything on top, but being porous and natural and all of that. So that's why I'm using the artist gel underneath as a glue. I would have used spray adhesive if I had any at home, but I forgot to resupply and yeah. That's why I'm using artist gel. It works just as well, so I don't mind. So the theme, as you already saw on the photo at the opener, is time flies. And one of the things that I use here and that suggests that time really goes quickly and that the world is a very hectic place is that this newspaper here is from the New York Times of February 2010. So quite a couple of years ago, and I brought it back from my honeymoon and I've used it in a couple of projects this year already. So you saw one page or the other in the art journal and also in other paintings and whatnot. So yeah, I just thought it would be very cool to use an old newspaper, since the theme or the topic of this week's painting is that time goes by so quickly. So now that the background is dry, I'm just using a couple of pastel chalks. And I'm drawing or outlining very roughly. Oh, what are they called? I just forgot. Is it a sand watch? A sand clock? I should have checked that out before I started the voiceover, but oh, I guess it's just too late at night for me to remember something. Hourglass. So, with this very light lavender pastel chalk color, I'm just outlining and filling in very roughly an hourglass. And yeah, I guess you know what's coming and why I chose the sentiment time flies. So I just wanted to do something silly in my art journal this week. I'm outlining everything with a bit of a darker lavender before I cover the whole background with this very light pastel rose color. I want to make sure that you can see through the newspaper writing through the pastel chalk layer. So I'm trying to have everything colored, but not to have too thick of a pastel chalk layer there. So being very careful, I could always add more color to the page. After last week where I did the mid-month challenge, I want to go with a very simple design that is not too crowded and that well, is like a vacation from the challenge. If you saw the challenge video and also the blog in the forum, you know that I've been struggling with putting the mid-month challenge together quite a bit, just because it is so out of my comfort zone. And this week I'm back in my comfort zone and I need it desperately, although in future pages I might just combine the two things, the two ways to approach a page. So I'm going for a way darker and more saturated pink here to have kind of like a shadow or an outline again on the right hand side and the lower side of the hourglass, as well as on the spot where I think the wings will be later. And with the same color I'm sketching in very roughly the sand that is in the hourglass. So now that the hourglass is tilted, I'm also adjusting the way the sand goes through or down the hourglass in the painting. I'm tilting everything because I guess the hourglass is just, well, jumping in the air and starting to fly and spreading its wings and all of that. So yeah, had to adjust it. Don't judge me. I know it's a silly painting, but my hands and my brain were craving these kind of paintings after a couple of hours spending, like I said, on the last challenge. And I'm not complaining, it's just that my brain needs a rest, and so I just went for the quote-unquote old patterns. So now I'm starting to use a very bright red purple to add some more depth to the right hand side of the hourglass. So where the shadow would be, just adding a bit more of that purple color, also outlining a bit of the sand and the wings to be added and all of that. So I'm just layering everything on top, and with a very dark purple I'm outlining the hourglass itself and giving it a frame. So around the second color, the medium lavender tone, I'm just outlining with the very dark purple tone here to well, get more of an illustration cartoony look, and also to just have a distinct border between the background and the hourglass, just outlining it very cleanly, very, very sharp, I would say. Finally, I'm adding some highlights on the outlines of the hourglass with a tiny bit of white. And I'm also having some, well, bars or lines in the background of the page, just randomly, but creating kind of a frame. The next thing I do just to seal in the layer is to add some fixative spray all over the page. I'm going to add different things onto the page, and I don't want anything to smudge on the pastel chalks. So I'm using my blow dryer to dry the fixative spray way quicker. I did leave it to dry a bit with just the natural room temperature while I cleaned up my brush and everything, but it was just too slow for me, so I bring in my trusty blow dryer just to speed things up. Next, I'm using my artist gel again and some feathers, and I'm going to give the hourglass a couple of wings so that, well, time can fly. I decided on the colors for that page because I had those lavender feathers in my stock that I haven't used for years and years and years. I don't even remember when I got those feathers there, but let me assure you, they are very old. So I guess they work very nicely with the pink and deep purple tones. So I'm just using the same artist gel as before, and I'm, well, putting down layers and or blobs with my palette knife just to have something to adhere the feathers to that is not super wet and that doesn't, well, ruin the feathers and the fluffiness of the material. So it's a very simple and very easy method to put 3D things down on your art journal page. Just use some artist gel and it's very, very easy, and it dries pretty quickly. Or at least it dries enough for other things to be added to the page, like in 10 or 15 minutes. So it's okay. It completely dries through, I think, overnight to be on the safe side, depending on the temperature in the space that you create in. It could even be earlier, like I don't know, 10 hours or something. So you just have to, well, see how warm the room is where you create and how quickly you might have to add something like next layer or whatever way you need to have the gel dried. It is quicker with a blow dryer or a heat gun, but even then you need to have the page or the canvas or whatever you are using with it dry and let it dry through completely overnight, just to be on the safe side. So now that I have all my feathers down, I'm adding 2 buttons just to cover up the lower parts of the feathers there. I didn't like how it looked, and with the buttons it's funnier, it's more complete, I think. The more narrow part in the middle of the hourglass could also be maybe a belt or whatever, so the buttons don't seem to be out of place, or I think they just fit in. So now that I have those buttons, I'm adding some pink glitter gel. It's just like glossy accent from texture wise, but it dries flat. So you can see with the photo at the end of the video, and also at the beginning if you just remember it, because it was just a very short opener. You see that the sausages that I have on my page right now are not there anymore, and that's because the gel has dried completely. So I'm just using it on bits and pieces of the sand in the hourglass, just to have some more structure, some more interest, and to, well, separated from the pinkish colors in the background. And also I want to finish up this gel because you see there's only a teeny tiny bit left. So I'm using it on, well, a lot of places in the hourglass. As many as I can use them on without it looking weird or just solid glitter. The next thing is I'm using ink, and that is very dark purple ink that I'm just, well, dabbing down onto the page right away. Just creating some more interest on the page, some other geometric shape, I should say. So it takes a tiny bit to dry, and then I'm using black ink to stamp words, and I'm stamping them multiple times, horizontal and vertical, and the words are "Time Flies," just as the name of the page is. The stamped words don't really stand out. That's why I'm not using them as the sentiment, but they are more a part of the page or even a part of the background, I'd say. I'm holding all of the stamps in one go because I try to have the same, well, distance between each letter. So that's why I'm inking all of those in one go and also stamping them all in one go. It's a bit tricky for my tiny hands, but having them like in 3 of those stamps in the left hand and 2 in the right hand, it works perfectly well. As for the theme of the page, I'm really surprised that we're already at the end of November 2014. This year went by so fast. So I think this week the topic of my page is just perfect for what I feel like. So many things to do, so many projects to finish, and yeah, so few hours or weeks or months left in 2014 to accomplish what I want to accomplish. So I'm using this white permanent marker, and I'm just adding a line on the left hand side of all of the letters that I just stamped, just to add some dimension or a shadow. You could also see it just as another, well, interest on the page. But I think it makes the black inked characters more visible. It's quite the busy background behind the stamped letters, so having that white line there, I think just draws your eye to the word and therefore makes it more visible. So next up, I'm using a very dark purple Copic marker with a brush tip to write the same thing, but as a sentiment then for the page. But coming back to time flying, I'm amazed that the year's already done. It just feels as if July just ended, but no, it's end of November. It's just 5 more weeks and then 2014 is done. So I'm adding tiny black and white dots there on the E's just to create a loop in between, because with the brush tip it didn't look like an E. So I thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to see you on Sunday with the Art Journal vlog for November, as well as the new Gamers Couch episode. Take good care, have fun, enjoy, go create. Goodbye.